Okay, for this video, we're going to discuss surface and NURBS. So, NURBS is a non-uniform rational B-spline. Um, we're going to discuss how it differs from polygonal modeling. And then the next part, I'm going to discuss what is curves. And then we're going to discuss how you can make a curve into a surface. And then finally, we're going to convert NURBS to a polygon. Okay. So these are the tools that you can use to edit your curves, while the next tool should be the surfaces. So let's proceed with our software. For this demo, I'm going to use Maya 2020 for the purpose of demo. So under Create, we have Polygon Primitive Sphere. Okay. Just a heads up, we will be able to discuss all the tools inside the menu. I'm trying to make it as much as possible, around 10 to 20 minutes recording. And then if you go to your polygon and then primitives, just to move there. Okay, I didn't change anything. This is just the primitive or the default. So as you can see, if I'm going to compare this, NURBS has a small amount of information, but you can see it's smooth, while Polygon has to have a lot of information to have it smooth as NURBS. Okay. Another difference between the two is if you go to its component, NURBS has isoform, object, hull, surface UV, surface point, surface budgets, control vertex. Okay. And then in Polygon, we have edge, object mode, UV, multi, space, vertex face, and vertex. Okay. Now, if I try to edit this using face, okay, let me select a group, and then I translated this in x-axis. Look how sharp when I pulled out the selected faces. Now, if I try this on our NURBS, what we're going to use is control vertex. So the only component that you can edit your NURBS is hull. So the hull is like an edge in Polygon. So you have to edit it in raw. So if I try to scale it up, it will scale up in raw. Or just select the horizontal lines if you want to edit the horizontal vertical. And then you cannot use surface UV for editing. Let's try it. Select. As you can see, I cannot select. And then surface point, surface badge. Let me show you if I can make it no. Okay. And then control vertex. So as you can see, the only component that you can use for editing your NURBS object is hull and control vertex. You can also use isoform, but this is for inserting information to your object. So if I try to move this, as you can see, the nearby faces or points are also moving or has an effect with the selected vertex. Okay. This is how unique NURBS is with Polygon. Okay. It tends to affect the nearby component to have a result of smooth object. So usually nerves are being used for industrial modeling like pipes, ships, airplanes, and so on. With those elements, you have to model. You can model with data information, but smooth object. However, if we're going to use the asset for games, we need to convert it into polygon. That's why I'm going to show you how to convert the nerves into polygon later on. So, but this one, it can help you to start uh, from a primitive to a complex object that you can convert to polygon and then later edit using the polygonal tools. Okay, so that is nerves. Also, nerves doesn't have to have rubies because nerves object tend to read the object as one piece object. Imagine, let's say, a ball. You, you model the sphere. Imagine a ball. You cut it into half, okay, and then flatten it down. Okay. That is how a ball nerves act. When you model it, it tends to just wrap the skin around the wireframe of an object. Okay. You can increase the number of segments. In nerves, we call it span section. So if I try to decrease the section to 1, this is how it looks like now. If I try to increase it, and then spans of 8. Okay. Sections are the vertical lines, spans is the horizontal lines. Okay. And then you can have it end sweep with just half of it, so 180. It will give you just half of the sphere. As you can see, when I decrease the number of sweep, it retains the number of segments, but just pulled the end of the NURBS surface towards the half sweep. So if I try to put it back to 360, you will notice when you select an object, in one area of a NURBS surface, there is this thick line. So this thick line is where the ends of the surface object meets. So it means the object is not close. Okay. It's a paper, okay, that doesn't have a connected edges or ends, okay, but wraps around an object. Okay. Imagine a foil or a plastic. You have a flat square plastic and a flat square paper, and then you paste it on a sphere. Okay. That is how a NURBS react. So you don't need a UV for that because it automatically recognizes the origin of your surface, which is the origin is a flat surface. Okay, so you have tube, cylinder, cone, plane, and furrows. Okay, take note that when you create the NURBS cube, okay, it is automatically grouped. Okay, it creates you 6 planes. Okay, unlike the cube or polygon, it gives you one piece object only. Okay, for this one, it's a group of things. So let me delete that. Now let's discuss um, curves. Okay. Let me put it on a flyout mode so that I don't have to go back and forth to that menu. So we'll go to tab to demonstrate the differences of curves. So we have CV curves. If I'm going to simulate an S shape using these CV curves, I need 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 points to simulate the S. And as you can see, the drawing area is like this, but the curve is like this. It doesn't follow um, the points that I created. Okay. And then we go to EP curve. We do the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. For this EP curve, it tends to follow where the exact point of the drawing. For the Bezier curve, let me create it. 1, 2, 3, 4. It tends to follow accurately the flow of my drawing. However, it's too sharp for edgy. 3-point arc and 2-point arc is just an arc, but we just have to create 3 points and 2 points. So let's say you're going to create 3 points. 2, 3. Okay. If I extend another, it will create another curve. So up to 3 points only, and it will only create just an arc after the arc. Now, let me select each one and then make it control vertex mode. Now, we created 4 points for each. Okay, and when I select the control vertex, as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. It's an accurate 4, but the placement of the curve is not as accurate as to where my flow of points. Okay, now let me go to EP curve, control vertex. Then I'm going to select. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 points, but I only created 4 points. Okay, so as you can see, it automatically adds 50%. Okay, additional 50% for the points. Okay. Next, control vertex. This is accurate, unlike CV curve. Okay. However, the problem is we have a sharp curve. Okay. For the arc, this is how it looks like to have a perfect arc. This is the number of vertices. Okay. If you really want to make this an S curve, then maybe you can just shape it like an S, but it won't be as perfect as a letter S, default S. Although we don't have a default S unless you created a text. Okay, so this is how easy to edit a curve. Okay. But do not expect it to be accurately on top of the curve itself, the vertex. Okay. Now, aside from the number of points, okay, why is it set up this way? Okay. If you want a low polygonal low number of components or information to an object, okay, of a curve, of a curve, then you need to choose CV curve. Okay. If you want an accurate one, Okay, almost accurate, but that doesn't have that 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 much number of segments or information to an object, then you can use EP curve. Now Bezier curve you can use also. Okay, however, you have to fix the curve, okay, under control vertex. Okay, and as you can see, it's really sharp. Now you can convert this curve like the Bezier curve into rounded if you go to your tool settings. So let's say I created an EP curve. Okay, when you create an EP curve by default, it's in 3 cubic. It means it creates a cubical type of uh, point per curve. Okay. So if I draw um, an S curve, this is how it looks like. Now if I try to change it to, let's say, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. This is as not as round as the first curve that we created. Okay. But still smooth and almost accurate. Okay. Now, it means it will create a curve after 2 points. Okay. A smooth curve after 2 points. Now, if I try to change it to linear, I create a new one, repeat curve here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it looks like the zero curve. Okay. We can also try to check 5. So repeat curve. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. It's sharp and at the same time smooth compared to, it's somewhere between the first curve and the second curve. Okay. But let's check what happens to the number of vertex. Okay. The first one we created takes 6 points. The second one we created 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 points only. Okay. Now for the 7 control vertex, for the 6 points that we created, it give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vertices. Okay. So if you're not trying to minimize the number of segments or information to your object, then you can use 7. But I think 3 will do. Okay. So it's a smart option for parameters or default set. So Bezier, in Bezier tool, this is how it looks like. So if I try to click on this, but if I try to click and drag, it gives me a handle. Okay, again, let me show it that way. If you just click, 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 it will give you a sharp curve. But if you try to click, also, let me enter Bezier. Click and drag, it will give you a Bezier handle, okay, that you can edit later on. Okay, and then click and drag again. Okay, and then click and drag again, and then click, and then if you want to drag again. Okay, now if I go to right mouse button, control vertex, I can now edit the curve. Okay, there we go. So you can create a better looking curve. Now, if we try to check on the number of points, it remains to be 4 points. Okay, so these are the differences of curves, and the tools that you can use to edit your curves are these. Okay, so I wouldn't be able to go through these one by one. Okay, um, with just a default creation of points by points drawing of a curve, you can leave it as long as you know how to properly draw it according to your needs. Okay. Um, what else? There are people that are having a hard time modeling in curves, but there are people who are having good time. It's easier for them to model in curves. Okay, so you can use these curves and NURBS as a basis or startup for a complex model in polygon. Okay, so these curves are non-renderable. It means this is just a node. Okay? It means that these are not an object yet. It doesn't have a surface. That's why we have to make or convert this into a surface. Okay? So there are tools here that you can use to make it as a surface, and I'm going to show you how to use it. So I'm just going to create a new smooth, and then surfaces we have here loft, planar, revolve, bi-rail, extrude, boundary, and square, bevel, and so on. Okay. But let me show you some of the surfacing tools. So if I'm going to create, let's say, a wire, which is the one that I asked you on one of the activities that given me. So I'm going to create two curves. Okay, I'm going to create a ET curve. Okay, and then I'm going to draw on my top view the shape or the flow of the wire of my object that I'm going to make it model, and then you hit enter to end the creation. This will be our path curve. Okay, and then we're going to create a closed curve, which will be the shape curve. I have here in NURBS primitive circle, so we can use this. Okay. Since this is the first point that we created or we drawn, I want you to put this circle facing the end of the curve, the path curve. So this is your shape curve, the circle, okay, and this is your path curve. Now select the shape curve. Shift select on the path curve, okay, and then surface extrude. Okay, this is how it looks like now. Okay, however, when I path curve or extrude this, it tends to offset on my curve, and I don't want that. So I'm going to remove this surfaces, extrude, option box, make it at path instead of at profile, And then we have an option to make it as distance. Okay, so just a distance tool, okay, or a distance surface. And then flat, it will give you a flat surface. So let's try to apply. So this is just distance. Okay. Now if you try to flat this is how it looks like. It's tapering on a curved area. Okay. And then if I try to make it tube, this is how it looks like. However, if you're familiar with curves, this surface having it black, it means it's a reverse. It means the inner surface is facing outside, or the other way around. The outside or the external surface is facing inwards. So when you render, you're gonna have some problem in terms of lighting and rendering. So what we're going to do is reverse the normals. So you go to surfaces and then reverse direction. So this is the right direction for your surface if it turns into gray. Okay. Now, if you notice, I didn't close the option box for extrude. Below, you can have it automatically output geometry into polygon or Bezier. So if you're a polygonal modular type of artist, then maybe you can use this. So let me set this aside to compare later. Okay. So let me do the same process, and then I'll just change it to polygon and then apply. Okay. This is how it looks like. It's a triangulated object, triangulated face. But there are also settings here. The reason why it's triangulated is because it is set to triangles. Now let's change that. Control C. Okay, and then make it quads. Apply. Okay, I made it quads. However, the topology is not good. What do I mean by the topology is not that good? Okay, there are surfaces that has more than 4 edges, and there are surfaces that has more exact 4 edges. Okay, and as you can see, it's not flowing properly, like these lines or the edges. Okay, it breaks two faces apart before it continue to the second or the succeeding faces. So this is not the type of topology that we're looking for. So it's either you fix this, or using the mesh tool that I've sent from previous lecture, or you can fix it by the settings of your extrude option. So and then select again, make it it's in quads already. So instead of tessellation standard kit, I usually use control points. So when you apply, this is how it looks like now. Okay, why did I choose control points? It creates an edge, a ring of edges, or a loop of edge, okay, and within the points of a curve. So this is our curve on top view. Okay. So here, as you can see, it follows the points on your curves. However, it doesn't look that good because it's too faceted or edgy. Okay. Now let's try different if you want. So select circle and then the path curve. The path curve before the first shape curve. Let's use count. Okay. And then it gives you a freedom on how many polygon count are you going to have for this surface. So apply. Okay, so now it's better looking. Okay, it's better looking. And when I hit number 3 on my keyboard, okay, it's smoother. Okay. You can also increase it. So if I just undo this and increase it to, let's say, 500 number of polygon, apply. So this is how it looks like now. But the surface is still reversed, so I'm going to surfaces, reverse direction. Okay, but Maya gave me an error. It says that nothing was selected to reverse. Okay. The reason for this is because the surface reverse only works for NURBS surface. Since we chooses to have it output to a polygonal geometry, it doesn't recognize this surface as a NURBS surface but a polygonal surface. So to reverse this, we're going to use mesh tool. Is that mesh tool? Mesh. Where's my reverse? Okay, mesh display. Okay, here. So selected, the object is selected, mesh display, and then reverse. Now it works. So this is how you can output your curves into polygonal object automatically if you don't want it NURBS. Later on, I will show you how to convert NURBS object into a polygon. Okay, so let me close this. Okay. So extrude, we need two object or two curves, a path curve and a shape curve to make an extrusion. Okay, unlike with polygon, you just have to select one face or multiple faces and then click extrude and then pull it out. This one, it needs two curves to create a surface. Okay, so now let me create another object. Okay, let me go. I'm already talking for 33 minutes. I might have to cut it into 2 parts. So before I cut it into 2 parts, let's go to lock. Okay. So lock object, let's say I want to simulate a curtain. So EP curve, I'm going to create it on my top view. Lock object, we used it before to create or model a face. So let me show you why. Because it doesn't limit you to having just 2 curves. Okay. It actually encourages you to create multiple curves. However, if you're going to lock curves, it has to have the same number of points. So I'm going to duplicate this to make sure that they having the same number of points. Okay. So control vertex, And then on my top view, maybe I can just select these points and then scale it down to have a flatter curve. And then I can select this since I duplicated from the original. So um, control vertex, and then I'm going to select it. Okay, now that I have three curves, it will not limit you to three curves. You can use as many curves as you want. But when you select and before you lock it, you have to select it by according to how you want Maya to compute the connection. So you're asking Maya to please connect this curve to the points corresponding to these curves, and then connect it, this one, to the third. Okay, so if you're going to multi-select, rectangular select, there are chances that the software wouldn't be able to recognize its hierarchy, okay, or the flow. So you have to tell the software that this is how are you going to connect accordingly. So start from here, then you go here, then you go here, and then you go to the next curve and so on. So shift selection. So surfaces, and then lock. Okay. So I have now a curtain. Now, take note that curves can be a controller, and the curves that you created in your to make a surface has an history to your object. And for me to recognize if they have a built relationship with each other, if you select, let's say, this curve, it doesn't show up now. It doesn't show up now. Before it's turning into pink. Okay. So if I try to, let's say, this curve, control points, and then move the point, so let's say here, as you can see, it automatically updates your surface. Now, you can also make this curve as a controller for your object. Okay, so let me show you. Now, let me show you if I'm going to animate this into um, a curtain that is being blown by a wind. Okay, so here, let me set it into just 50 frames for the demo. Okay, save. Okay, it's not saving. Animation. The problem in curve sometimes after few editing, some of the tools will not work. So make sure to save it and then close or just reopen the scene file. Okay. So I made it and then save, and then here, maybe see, and then so now let me give follow to my third page. If I try to play that, So you can use these curves as a controller for your object later on. But if you're planning to use this curve as a controller for your object later on, please make sure to do not delete the curves. If you delete the curve, okay, if you delete the curve and then you play back the animation, okay, the animation is gone. Okay. If you try to delete the history key, delete by type, oops, delete by type, history. Okay. If I play back the slider, the curves are animating, but the curtain doesn't follow because the relationship between the curves and the object are broken. Okay, so let me cut this video and show you some of the tools for the curves.